Good afternoon. Again, I'm Dave Main. I'm the Chief Security Officer over at CenturyLink, and we're hosting today. So I have the opportunity to introduce the second speaker for the afternoon session, and I'd like to introduce Jeff Tabor. He is the Senior Director for Product Management and Marketing at Avere Systems. Jeff has been with them for 5 years. As the Director of Product Management and Marketing, he leads all product definition and software roadmap efforts. Prior to Avere, Jeff managed clustered NAS solutions at NetApp and Spinnaker Networks. Jeff holds a bachelor's and master's degrees in electrical engineering and computer science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Jeff?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dave. For those of you who were here for his presentation, it was very scary. Mine will be a lot less scary. It's about making movies. So I'm Jeff Tabor, and I work at Avere Systems. It's a Pittsburgh-based high-tech startup. So those of you from Pittsburgh may recognize us on the map here. We're nestled in between the 16th Street Bridge and Heinz Loft. So if you're in the area, stop by. Avere Systems is building a better mousetrap for data storage. In particular, we are building a solution that is enabling corporations and other organizations store their data and run their apps in the cloud. So when I say cloud, I am referring to infrastructure as a service. So there are service providers out there today, most notably Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, who are offering infrastructure as a service. And I'm going to focus on two parts of that puzzle today. The first one is called cloud computing, where these providers essentially have an infinite number of servers up in data centers they call the cloud, and you can rent time on those servers to run your applications. They also have a service called cloud storage, which you can think of like an infinite number of disk drives up there where you can rent time and store your data there. So, businesses use a lot of utilities. I mean, we use utilities for electricity, phone, for internet access, things like that. And the IT world is moving towards, a utility model for, running its applications on servers and storing its, data in the cloud. If you think about the way we do IT today, it's really kind of crazy. There's a lot of reinvention of the wheel. And so if you're just like walking down the streets in Pittsburgh and you go by a bank, a medical center, or a software company, each one of these buildings is going to have each one of these operations is going to have an IT department. They're going to have a computer room, and they're going to have an IT team. And oftentimes the team's kind of irritated because they are looking down the barrel of a situation like shown on this slide. I mean, this is meant to be a joke, but I think it probably hits home a little bit because things aren't always quite as tidy as we'd like them to be. And so, it's a really, really tough job that they're in. But in the cloud, you can begin, running your apps and storing your data in an environment that looks like this. This is a photograph from inside of a Amazon or Google data center. These things are just absolutely massive in scale. They're deployed all over the world, so there's one going to be fairly nearby you, and they're growing very fast. So every day they grow this infrastructure by a massive amount. They grow it by an increment in IT gear that's equal to what the largest corporations have in total. Like as much as Fidelity has in total, they'll add in a day's time. So, and when they're adding this amount of equipment, they're doing it with really, really strict policies and procedures. So everything goes in there, very nicely, and you're ensured a very, high quality product. So, if everybody's going to move to the utility model eventually, who's going to move there first? So it's the people with big data who will move there first. The people with big data need to move there because they have the most acute problem. They have the largest number of computers to process the data. They have the largest amount of storage to store the data. And the path they're on right now in like building bigger data centers of their own is just unsustainable. So they're looking to the cloud as a solution. And today I'm going to be talking about the movie industry, because they're a big data industry. They have tremendous amount of data, do tremendous amount of data processing in making these modern films. And also, everyone loves the movies. Movie making is an important part of the Pittsburgh economy. And at Avere Systems, we sell a lot of equipment into the movie makers, so we understand them quite well. So making modern movies is a pretty high-tech operation today. So there's lots and lots of computers and storage inside a modern studio. And so where Avere gets involved is in what's called post-production. So after all the filming is done, there are steps, kind of finalizing the film. And the two steps that we're involved in are called rendering and compositing. And in rendering and compositing, what they do is they create computer-generated imagery and visual effects that cannot be filmed, or they choose not to film. For example, in The Hobbit, they have a dragon. So you obviously can't film a dragon, so they create a dragon with rendering techniques, and then they composite that onto a movie scene with live actors, so it seems to be real. Another example of rendering is shown on this slide, and this is a sandstorm from Zero Dark 30. There's actually no sand used in the movie to create this scene. It was all computer-generated sand, computer-generated wind. And if you think about it, it's sort of a more manageable process to get the visuals you want when you're doing it with computers than when you're doing it with actual wind and sand. You have to take multiple takes, and there's a huge mess, and so it becomes quite a difficult problem. So a typical render farm has like a network diagram that looks like this. So in a large studio like a DreamWorks or a Sony, they have a render farm, which is really like a supercomputer array of computers. And in a modern, movie making, these big studios will have like approximately 10,000 computers in one of these arrays. So it's just a massive amount of computers that does the creation of these digitally created scenes. And they also have a tremendous amount of disk storage, typically on the order of multiple petabytes. So a petabyte is 1 million gigabytes, for people familiar with the kind of gigabyte size. And if you do the math on that, that's about 10,000 disk drives also. So it's just basketball courts full of this gear. And for a little Avere commercial, we sit in the middle, and what we do is we provide a very high performance solid state tier. So solid state storage, which is very fast, has no moving parts. And the software intelligence to move the data from the disk drives onto our tier and feed it to the render farm very fast with very low latency to keep the render farm operating at peak performance. Another important thing we do is we hide the latency to where all the storage is. So oftentimes the storage will be scattered around the country or world, or off in the cloud, which can be a long ways away, and you can have substantial network latency. In order to keep the render farm humming along, the Avere gear is there to help with that. So 10,000 computers to do this rendering, but unfortunately that's not always enough. So just last year we ran into a situation where the customer needed to add 2,000 more computers. They only had 2 months left to finish the movie, and so they had to add these 2,000 computers and more of our equipment. So in the old days, they used to literally just put the studios all kind of work together, and you could loan and borrow render nodes from the different studios. So they'd put them in a truck or van like this, drive them around across California, and between Pixar and ILM and DreamWorks, they would loan these render nodes out. But you're certainly not going to fit 2,000 computers in this van, and there's just nothing easy about installing 2,000 computers. You have to be purchased. They cost a lot of money, hauled into the data center, put into racks, apply power, apply networking, and that's if the data center is big enough. If it's not big enough, you then have to build another data center, and so really that's where the cloud comes in. So the cloud, again, you think of it as an infinite number of servers out there and a near infinite number of disk drives. And so what the movie studios are now doing is to satisfy this peak load that they have, they can bring their software only, the rendering software, put it on 2,000 render nodes, create what's shown here in blue, a virtual render farm. They also need the Avere functionality, so they can get us a software-only license from us, stand up a dozen or 2 dozen of our nodes, co-locate those with the render farm in the same cloud, and then what the Avere system does, well, it can either reach into the storage cloud, if that's where the studio happens to store its data, or more commonly today, the data is stored on premises, back at the studio, and the Avere system can reach down to that data and pull it off the NAS or object systems that they have on their premises. And so this is the model that they're moving to. So we solved the problem, this year for 2,000 computers. Next year it's going to be 10,000. The year after that, 20,000. The year after that, 40,000. And so it's just not sustainable to build this all out in their data centers. So they're turning to the cloud to achieve this type of scale. And what's really nice about this is, it's not it's not free, certainly, but you pay only for what you use. So if you're using 2,000 computers for the weekend, you pay for 2,000 computers for the weekend. If you turn them off at the end of the weekend, you don't pay for them anymore. And since it's all software, you can do this type of thing, turn it on, turn it off, and rather quickly. So I thought it would be entertaining to talk a little bit about rendering and what the computing power behind it and how Avere works to provide this. And I thought it'd be interesting to watch a trailer for 2 minutes. And I can see my trusty assistant is getting that rolling. And I don't know, I was going to try to dim the lights as well. Oh my, well, how about timing? And if you could raise up the volume, would be awesome.
Where does your journey end? You seek that which would bestow upon you the right to rule. The quest to reclaim a homeland and slay a dragon.
Do not think I won't kill you, dwarf.
When did we allow evil to become stronger than us?
It is not our fight.
It is our fight.
What if it's a trap?
It's undoubtedly a trap.
Such is the nature of evil. In time, all foul things come forth.
If you awaken that beast, you will destroy us all.
Was that an earthquake?
That, my lad, was a dragon.
Well, thanks for the help in the back there to get that video playing. I could watch that 1,000 times. We didn't quite get the cinema, effect in here, but hopefully people, thought that it was cool. And now you're getting a sneak peek on my next few slides. So if we all agree that 10,000 computers and some big data, can make, great movies, then let's think outside of the box a little bit here and, what more can we do? I mean, what can you do, with 1 million computers and big data? So there's 1 million computers up there in the cloud, and people will figure out how to harness them and do great things. So certainly, you can make better movies, but what else? So you can make lots of money. Is one thing you can do. So Avere Systems works with hedge funds and other financial type institutions, and their work is very technical today. And so what they do is they have their own special algorithms, their own special financial models, and the more computers they can use to run those models, the faster they'll make decisions and the better investment decisions they'll make. And so the people to crack that nut first are going to make a lot of money. Money's not everything. So what else can you do? So, end traffic jams. So I strongly suspect that Google is working on this. So, just imagine a system where they're collecting worldwide traffic data, processing it, sending instructions to your navigation systems or the robots that will be driving your car, and the traffic signals themselves to keep the flow of traffic happening. So that's another exciting area we can look for with with the power of big data and the cloud. And so last, cure cancer. So medical research today is very technical. Typically, oftentimes it begins with taking cells from a patient, putting them in a machine called a genomic sequencer. That machine then digitizes the DNA of the patient, and then that DNA pattern is matched and compared against a large library of DNA from all the other samples from healthy patients and patients with known illnesses, cancer, Parkinson's, ALS, whatever. So the more the cloud enables us to process this better, store more data, and make faster progress on this type of medical research. So with that. Now more than ever, people with a good idea and some data to substantiate that idea can, get some seed money and put the cloud to use for them and achieve things they've never been able to achieve in the past. Really just honestly change the world. So Avere Systems. Folks at Avere Systems are inspired to kind of work on these types of projects. And so if you'd like to learn more, please send me email or visit our website or stop by our offices or, I guess, ask questions right now. Thank you very much. So are there any questions? Are there any questions? Yes.
People talk a lot about cloud systems these days. So I was thinking, as a firm, how do you choose between clouds? In what factors should we consider? In the sense, the firm may be located all over the world. Should we look at location? I mean, say we look at operating systems they use, whether we can run applications, and again, should we look at whether we'll be hooked on to this provider for too long, we'll not be able to change. So how do you choose the cloud? And how do you, so do you want to keep everything in the cloud, or do you want to run your programs locally and just store data? So how do you make those decisions?
Right. So that's a big question. Is basically how do you pick your cloud provider and how much of your applications and data do you move into the cloud? So there's it's a big world of cloud offerings out there. So it's hard to summarize it, but there are people that have been out there for a long time, like Amazon. I mean, they certainly have the best menu of offerings when it comes to types of servers that you can rent and types of software that they support and different types of storage options and things like that. So they've got the largest menu, but there are people like Google who got started later, but they're catching up fast, and they're very focused, I would say, in different verticals. So it really requires a couple things. I mean, it requires some research. It also requires finding a partner so Avere has been working in the cloud for some time. So one of the most biggest values we offer to our customers is the ability to be their kind of cloud advisor, and so help them kind of work their way through those decisions. And then on the how much do you bring to the cloud? Avere allows you to be very flexible on that decision. So, we've been selling products for more than 5 years that are for on-premises data centers. And so these products allow you to kind of get to the cloud, and the products we sell for the cloud allow you to attach to the equipment that's back on the premises. So it's a hybrid cloud in the end. And so you can use that to be, you're 100% on premises today and 0% in the cloud. You can use this type of architecture to move 1%, 2%, 5%, and slowly kind of grow into the cloud. Maybe the first thing you want to do there is archive, old data that you don't interact with very often, and it's just taking up a lot of space and it's taking up a lot of power. You move that to the cloud first. So there's a path that you kind of head down to make these decisions, but a key is to be working with advisor that can kind of help you in those decisions. I just got the done signal, so that's it. Thank you very much.